Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Happy weekend, happy Saturday. Welcome to this month's version or this month's edition of my live session for About Islam. Last time I did a live session, I was talking about basic Islamic etiquette for new Muslims, and this session today is going to be kind of along a similar vein. Today I'm going to be talking about fitting into the Muslim community and trying to feel welcome in your local mosque. So just before we get started, again, Assalamu alaikum. I just want to say that I know a lot of people prefer to use the term revert. I do not. I use the term convert. I'm going to use it throughout the session, so you do not need to waste your time and energy telling me to say revert. All right, because it's not going to happen. So I've got 4 questions to address. I'm going to go through them one at a time, and we'll talk about a couple of themes that come out through them. So the first question, and I don't know the names of anyone who sent these purposes. They are anonymous. Looks like my connection is not amazing, so if I go in and out of connection, I'm really sorry, but there will be a recording of this afterwards, inshallah. So the first question, I have an excellent Muslim sister at my local masjid who always welcomes me when I go there and takes care of me. But when she's not there, I can't relate to the other sisters as they are not welcoming. What would you advise me to do to befriend more Muslim sisters at the masjid and also elsewhere? So, again, my connection is going in and out, especially when you are, when you're in a situation that you aren't, it's new to you. That's what I'm saying. When you're a new convert or if you're in a new community, it's not always easy to bond with people. And I just actually finished writing an article about this for About Islam. Inshallah, will be published within a few days. And I wish I had a really easy answer. I wish I could say like, oh, well, you just need to do A, B, and C, and you'll feel great at the masjid, and you'll feel super welcome. But unfortunately, that would just be too easy, wouldn't it? So the only thing I can say, assalamu everyone who's joining now. The only thing I can say is if no one is reaching out to you, then you have to be the one to reach out. You can't do anything to make people want to welcome you or to make people be your friend. Obviously, those of us who have been Muslim for a long time, we definitely should be reaching out to the new people, especially new converts, because it can be really, a scary adjustment when you're new to Islam. But when you're in the position of not feeling welcome and you want to be talking to people, and I'm sorry, I keep looking over here, here's what my notes are. The only person you can control is yourself. So there's nothing you can do to make others want to reach out to you, but you can be the one to reach out. I don't like that answer. I don't like giving that advice. That's not something that I would enjoy doing, but that's really the only thing you can do. And also, please remember to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, just because they're not coming up to you doesn't necessarily mean they're not welcoming. But they might be like me. They might be shy. They might not be comfortable just going up to someone and saying, starting the conversation, being the first one to say hello. So, sometimes if you aren't feeling welcome, you have to be the one to take initiative and make friends. One thing I will say is inshallah, if you live in a big enough Muslim community, look for a mosque that has a convert group or a program for converts. So I know there's at least one around where I am, but I'm in an area where there's a pretty large Muslim population, alhamdulillah, so it's not that difficult to find. I know that that's not always the case, but also, alhamdulillah, we live in this age of social media. I always get really irritated when people are bashing social media. I mean, it's part of our life now, and take advantage of it. Absolutely use it to your advantage. If you're struggling to make connections with people, it is a very, very normal and common thing these days to make connections with people online. Some of my, closest friends are people that I know exclusively online, and most of them are Muslim converts. So look, there are definitely some groups on Facebook. Look for forums that are geared towards Muslims, and then even more towards Muslim converts, if you want to make sure you're having something in common with the people that you're connecting with. That's something that definitely works for someone like me. I'm more of an introvert. I don't like to have to go up to someone and start a conversation. I'm really bad at it. So looking for online resources is a really good way to go. And I've forged some, mashallah, some really good, close, and sincere friendships with sisters across the country and across the world who I've never met in person. But in this day and age, that's something that's just completely normal, and it would be foolish to discount that as an option. So take that into consideration. So just to sum up, because I think I covered 3 basic points in my ramblings here. Number 1, you can take the initiative to start talking to someone. Also keep in mind, you said that the other sisters aren't welcoming. Maybe they think, and I'm not saying this is the case, but just maybe they think that you are unwelcoming to them, or you don't want to be around them, or you're, sometimes when people are quiet or shy, other people get a read like they think you're being standoffish or snobbish, and really you're just kind of quiet, So maybe they think that you're being like that, but you're just keeping it to yourself. So, maybe with you taking the initiative, you'll find it a more welcoming environment. So you take the initiative, point number 1. Point number 2, look for a mosque or a community nearby that has a program for converts, preferably run by converts, and I'll talk about that later. And then number 3, online resources. And I think the admin on the session here for About Islam posted a page. We actually, on About Islam, we actually have a convert support group. So if you are a convert and you need support, or if you are someone who is raised Muslim and you feel like you would be a support to converts, join that group. Please note, it is a support group. Okay, so this is not about lecturing people or telling them what they're doing wrong. It is support for converts is what it's called. So join that group. I'm in it. It's pretty active and it's a lot of fun. And it's a great way to connect with people. So that was the first question. I'm going to do the next 2 questions together. So the second question, I don't feel welcome at my masjid. I either have someone frown at the way I dress or correct the way I pray. I am frustrated. What do I do? And then the third question, sometimes I feel hesitant to go to my local masjid as I don't always fit in. I'm always seen as the revert who doesn't know anything. So those 2 are kind of related. So first of all, I'm going to talk to those of us who were raised Muslim or who have been Muslim for a long time, like myself. Obviously, if you see someone doing something wrong, it is okay to correct them. But we need to be incredibly incredibly mindful and sensitive about the way we correct people. It is not appropriate whatsoever to be giving people dirty looks. I don't care if they're dressed wrong. I don't care if they're praying wrong. I don't care what they're doing. Dirty looks or hostility of any kind are not okay. I'm going to remind us all, and I always paraphrase these, so this is not direct quote, this is paraphrase, of the time where there was a man urinating in a prayer space in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The people noticed him urinating, peeing. This is, way beyond praying slightly wrong or dressing slightly wrong. He was urinating out in the open in the praying space. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ noticed, and they were horrified and like, oh my gosh, we have to make him stop. What did the Prophet do? He did not interrupt the man. He did not shame him. He waited for him to finish. He didn't even interrupt him and be like, hey, you can't do that here. Which, if any of us saw someone like peeing out in the open in the mosque, of course we'd be like, hey, what are you doing? You can't do that. It's natural. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so they waited for him to be done. And then he very kindly, privately, without causing any fuss or bringing any shameful attention to him, informed him, this is not the place for that. Can you please, not do that here? You have to do that somewhere else. And they discreetly cleaned up the mess without bringing any attention. Now, I bet a lot of people here are like, oh, well, I would never, shame someone outright. Well, those of you who are giving dirty looks are. But anyway, I digress. But also you have to be really careful about how you're advising someone in private, because I gotta say, a good percentage of the time, it comes off as super patronizing. And that is, that's also not okay. Hold on a second. Situation with my children. Okay, we're good. So not only do you never, ever, ever publicly shame someone, that is absolutely incorrect and not the way of the Prophet ﷺ, you do it in a very kind, very gentle, humble sort of way. I think the humility of it is probably the most important part. You do not want to be coming from a top-down sort of, this is not the right way kind of thing. When I was newer to Islam, I don't remember what it was, but I did like a small something. I that was incorrect. It wasn't like a huge deal, but it was something. And there was this family that I was close with at the time. And a couple of minutes after I had done that thing, the wife in the family was like, alhamdulillah, Islam just teaches us how to do so many different things in our life. Allah has given us guidance for everything. Like, for example, and it wasn't even about the thing. And again, I can't remember the details, but it wasn't even about it, but it was sort of around that topic. And so she was in this way correcting me for what I did in a very kind, non-confrontational, totally non-condescending way, and it stuck with me. And I still felt a little bit embarrassed about doing something wrong. That's natural. Converts, don't expect to not feel embarrassed. That's going to come with the territory. Anytime you learn something new around people who've been doing it for a long time and you do something wrong, it's going to feel embarrassing. There's no way to present this without it feeling like a little bit, oh, darn it, I can't believe I mess up. But she did it in an extremely kind, extremely sensitive, non-condescending way, and I still learned that thing. which I know this sounds terrible because like I can't remember what it was. So what if I've done it? But but like it stuck with me so much. I'm sure that I absorbed the lesson. My point here being, for those of us who have been Muslim a long time or who are raised Muslim, that is the correct way to do it. Alhamdulillah, I was really, really fortunate to have her in my early time as a Muslim. I think we're good. And don't worry, my children are a little bit older, so they're not just like thrown to the wolves or anything. But anyway, now as for those of us coming from the perspective of the new convert, there is nothing you can do. You cannot make people treat you a certain way. You cannot make people welcome you. I'm not saying this to be like, listen, like I'm not trying to lecture you. This is coming from a place of like, I'm really sorry. That's all there is to it. The only person you can control is yourself. I am a controlling person, and it's a difficult thing for me to realize sometimes that I cannot make other people behave the way I want to. So, if I'm in a situation at work or whatever where it's like other people are just dealing with things in a way that I think is ridiculous, my powers are limited. I can't make people behave the way I want them to. I can't make them do the things I want them to. And neither can you. So the only thing for you to do is, again, you take the initiative. I am advising those of us who've been Muslim for a long time or who are raised Muslim to not be rude, not be, to live and behave in the example of the Prophet ﷺ. Like, he was so gentle with people. When he was harsh with people, it was like a rare circumstance, and it was for something that was offensive and serious, like mistreating another human. And it's just in that vein kind of funny because we Muslims often take things like behaving wrong in a mosque more importantly than the way we treat others. And again, that's something we can take the example from the Prophet, but that's a different topic for a different day. So I am advising those of us who've been in Islam for a long time, we need to improve our behavior. I can do that because I can control my actions. I am not going to be the one to frown at people for, wearing tight pants to the mosque. I'm not going to be the one to frown at people for, I don't even know, the things that people get upset about. That's not not going to be me. I can control myself. If you're in the position where someone is frowning at you, you can't make them stop. I'm sorry, you can't make them stop, and it's a hard lesson to learn if you are like me and you want people to just do what you want them to do. So the only thing you can control is yourself. You can choose to ignore them. You can choose to go to a different mosque. You can choose to engage in the Muslim community in a different way. It's really easy to say don't let it bother you. But it's not always so easy to do. But if you're one of those people who can shake things off easily, just shake it off. Who cares what they think? It's about what Allah thinks. If you're pleasing Allah, that's the most important. And then just quickly to address this one point in the third question, I'm always seen as a revert who doesn't know anything. That's super inappropriate. Those of you, especially those who've been Muslim all your life, like that's not okay. I don't care if someone just converted to Islam. You don't treat them like an idiot. That's inappropriate behavior. And I'm okay with shaming people who do that because we're talking about the way that you treat another person, the way that you treat another human being, and above all, the way that you treat another human being who is new to Islam or relatively new, and especially taking into consideration the fact that so many rules and so many practices, the local mosques are cultural and not Islamic, like the way that you dress. When I first became Muslim, I heard that women weren't allowed to wear jeans, which is like absurd. So just like some of that stuff, you really have to take with a grain of salt. And that's what I would advise, especially for converts. For those people who are treating you like you don't know anything, honestly, for a lot of them, they don't know anything either. And I'm not saying this across the board, but for a lot of people who have been Muslim all their life, they don't know Islam. They absorb what they've been taught. And they just continue that practice without ever looking at it with a critical eye. Converts tend to know Islam because we chose it. Again, I'm not saying this is the case across the board. Lots of people who have been Muslim all their life look at Islam with a critical eye. But I find generally that the people who are the most critical, the people who are the least welcoming, the people who want you to, change your evil Western ways, are the people who just don't know what they're talking about. And obviously that must be the case because it's not how Islam is. For people who want you to become South Asian or want you to become Arab or want you to become, whatever the local dominant culture is, that's not Islam. And those people don't know what they're talking about. So try, if you're a convert in this position where people are treating you like you're just the idiot revert who doesn't know anything, try to keep that mindset. Like, people who do that, they honestly don't. They don't know anything. They just do what they've done their whole life without thinking about it. And again, just to be perfectly clear, I'm not saying that all people who are raised Muslim don't know Islam. That's obviously not the case. All right, now the fourth question. I am not a revert, but I want to help reverts feel more welcome at my masjid. How can I help them? That is a lovely, great question. And this can go also for people who are converts but have been Muslim for a long time. So, especially as Ramadan is coming close, Ramadan tends to be a super lonely time for a lot of converts. For a lot of us, it's a super, what am I saying? It's a really foreign concept to a lot of us converts, how much Muslims love Ramadan. Because to us, it's like, oh, God, you can't eat all day for 30 days. That sounds like a drag. You have to eat real quick at night and go to bed because you have to go to work the next day. Like, it's not a concept that makes sense to us, that this is a joyous time of year. And what I have found from experience is that the joyous part of it comes from community. The best days I ever had in Ramadan were when we were visiting my in-laws in Iraq for a couple of days, and we all woke up and we all, had our meal before the fast started together, and it was just so lovely and so nice. And it was like, wow, this is what they're talking about. This is what they love. This is not about Ramadan. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. But the reason I bring up Ramadan is just because this is, I just want to acknowledge that someone said habit versus knowledge, spot on. This is a particularly lonely time for converts. So if you are either someone who is born Muslim or who has been Muslim for a long time and you want to reach out and help, you want to do something to make sure people in your community are feeling welcome. First of all, Allah reward you. Second of all, here's your chance. Here comes Ramadan. This is the best time to do it. Invite someone over to your house. Invite them to go to the mosque to pray with you. It doesn't have to be an event. Just like, hey, why don't I swing by and pick you up and we'll go to the prayer together. You spend, 15 minutes there and back and pray together. That's like, that tiny little gesture could really just be so impactful. And this is not only for men, for women too. I know that culturally a lot of women tend to pray in their homes, but there's nothing that says Islamically that that's what you have to do. So anything like that, reaching out to people, inviting them, if you're college age, making sure that converts have access to your Muslim Student Association. Not only that, they have converts, but they're part of the organization, president, secretary, whatever. A lot of times it's just run by men, first of all, who have been Muslim all their life. So make sure that you are actively including converts, especially new converts, in your community. If your mosque does not have a group for converts, organize one. However, after you organize it, step down. I think our sister Trudy said, born Muslims tend to be quite indignant if you assert any knowledge, my experience anyway. Unfortunately, that can be true, generally speaking. And so it does not feel good as a convert to have someone who's born Muslim lecturing at you. So there should absolutely be, if there isn't already, try and help organize a group for converts, like a weekly group meeting or bi-weekly or whatever works for converts, but don't head the group. You organize it and step out. Let a convert who's been around for a while lead, or if they're all new, just let them get together and just bond and learn. And if you have the space in your mosque for a convert group, then you have this, I'm sure you probably already have other learning opportunities. And so for teaching converts, they can choose to go to those sessions. Let the convert group just be for converts to, socialize. I mean, a lot of times as I'm preparing for this session, for a live session, I don't get any questions at all, or I just get one or maybe two. This time I have four questions about new Muslims not fitting in with their community. For new Muslims, they can't do anything about it. They can't force us to let them fit in. So the onus is on us. The onus is on those of us who have been Muslim for a long time. This fourth person who said, how can I help? They've got the right idea. New people in your community, converts, even people who have been Muslim all their life but aren't from, this isn't necessarily how it should be, but mosques tend to be organized by culture and nationality. So, you've got the mosque that's mostly South Asians, or the mosque that's mostly, Iraqis or whatever, what have you. So if you've got a new person who's not part of the dominant local culture, still make sure that they're feeling welcome and you're not making them feel like they have to be Pakistani or whatever the case may be. So the responsibility really falls on those of us who have been Muslim for a long time, and because when you're new, you can't just turn a community on your head. Even if you wanted to, there's so little that you can do. So I hope those of us who've been Muslim for a long time really take this opportunity, especially in the next coming months with Ramadan coming up, to reach out to converts and new people in our community and to help them feel welcome. Invite them over for dinner one day. And it doesn't have to be during Ramadan either. You don't have to invite them over for a Ramadan dinner. Invite them over for tea in the afternoon. Go to the mall with them. Whatever. Just make an effort to make one person feel welcome. Again, as I said when I started this session, I wish that there was something I could say that's just oh, well, just do ABC and you're good to go and you'll fit in just fine. But I mean, honestly, I've been Muslim for 10 years now, alhamdulillah. 10 years and 1 month and 3 days, to be precise. And I've never really felt like I fit in anywhere. So this is not an easy solve. So inshallah, some of the advice benefits some of you, both those of us who have been Muslim all our lives or for a long time, or those of us who are new to Islam. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I hope everyone has a good weekend. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.